China has recruited more than 30 former British military pilots, including those who have flown sophisticated fighter jets. The UK's Defence Ministry says they're being recruited to train pilots of the Chinese army. Concerned by the development, the UK has issued an intelligence alert, warning former pilots against working with the PLA. Officials say the scouting for British pilots was first noticed in 2019. But later it slowed down due to the COVID pandemic. And now, with borders actively opening up, the activity has picked up once again. British officials have zeroed in on a South African flying academy, which is allegedly acting as an intermediary. A Ministry of Defence spokesperson said the recruitment and training do not breach any British laws, but officials from the UK and other Western nations are trying to discourage it. The UK does not have the legal tools to stop the recruits, and China is paying a hefty sum to these pilots. The contracts offer around $2,000 and $70,000 a year, a lucrative offer for personnel who retired from service years ago. None of the pilots recruited by China have flown the F-35s, the Royal Air Force's most advanced and expensive fighter jets. However, they have extensively used older generation warplanes like the Typhoon, Harrier Jaguar and Tornado. The British retired pilots are reportedly being used to understand the way in which Western pilots and planes operate, information that some experts say could be vital in the event of any conflict, such as over Taiwan. Now, for more on this, Mickey Kay, a former RAF helicopter pilot and investigative journalist, joins us live from Paris. Oh, Mickey, thank you so much for being with us. So, how concerned are British officials by this?
I have to say that when I first heard that British pilots with an extensive background in air-to-air tactics, having, as you commented upon, flown the Typhoon, which is before the F-35 came along. The Typhoon was the UK's preeminent air defence fighter. The F-35 has superseded that, which is a fifth-generation fighter, which has more of a stealth capability, and it's certainly something that the Chinese are working towards but don't have yet. So it did raise an eyebrow. But I think we have to delve into this a little bit more and investigate a little bit more in terms of what the possibilities are in terms of what UK pilots are teaching Chinese pilots. There will be a language barrier there, a huge language barrier. So I would make the assumption that they're having to go through interpreters, which will limit the complexity of the language that is used by UK instructors. But then also you have to factor in the fact that the Chinese are going to be using very, very different equipments to the UK. And what I mean by that is the air defense radar will be different. The radar guided missiles will be different. The IR missiles, which are shorter range missiles, will be different. And the capabilities of all of those equipments and capabilities that I've just spoken about will be a very different beast to what the UK are using. And then you've also got to factor in the Official Secrets Act, which, whether you're in the military currently or whether you've been in the military, I served 20 years and had access to some very classified informations on the tactical front, on the weapons front. They won't be allowed under the Official Secrets Act to be able to impart that information. So I think there's a lot of factors that have to be taken into consideration here before a judgment is cast on these individuals and the UK government.
Well, it seems somewhat that officials' hands are slightly tied on what they can do to stop these former officers from working as contractors. Is that indeed the case, and is there more that can be done to stop them potentially working with the PLA, and should more be done to stop this from happening?
I think before that decision's made, I think there has to be a real understanding of what information those instructors are imparting to the Chinese. If it's basic tactics, then, from my personal opinion, if it's basic tactics, then I don't really have a major problem with it. If it's more detailed tactics and there's there's a certain threat that might emanate from that, then absolutely that needs to be questioned. There's also an opportunity as well from UK intelligence authorities to be able to understand what the Chinese are doing and what the Chinese are up to by talking to these pilots. Now you're getting into a very sophisticated and complex web of intelligence gathering, human intelligence gathering. But I have no doubt that will also have been thought about by the UK when it comes to making these decisions.
And when it comes to the timing, obviously this comes at a period where we've seen tensions between China and the West, particularly the United States, really ratcheted up, especially after the US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan. Obviously, military drills conducted by the US and its allies in the region too. Is this just a coincidence that these reports are coming out now, or is this something that's been potentially happening for quite a while when it comes to the imparting of this knowledge?
I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure when the contracts were set up, and I don't know how long the instructors have been inside China for. I think you'd have to go to the South African agency that are responsible for the recruitment in order to try and gain more information on that. I certainly think that, the Chinese will have made a calculation here as well in terms of, the type of experience that they're getting and what the potential is for, that experience to be turned off, whether it be from a decision from the UK or whether it would be because geopolitical tensions are increasing. I think ultimately at the end of the day, the UK will have a very diplomatic conversation with those instructors that are over there. And I think before they make any form of decision that might impact those instructors working in China, they'll have to harvest a lot more information from them to understand what it is that's actually going on. I think what this particular moment does now is it focuses the attentions of the Ministry of Defence and the Foreign Commonwealth Office to try and understand this a little bit better and take a little bit more of an interest, just to get the full picture of what's going on.
Well, Mr. Day, thank you very much for sharing your insight and analysis with us, and thanks for taking the time. That was Mickey Kay, the former RAF helicopter pilot and investigative journalist.